There have been lots of full champion reworks throughout the years, and we had to say goodbye to some powerful ultimate abilities that the old school League players like me will never forget. So let's dive right in and kick it off with our favorite tanky Yordle. Did you know Poppy's previous ultimate allowed her to dive any champion and ignore all turret incoming damage? Before becoming the Orlon's legendary Hammer's Keeper, she was the Iron Ambassador, and her ultimate came with a whole different strategy. Diplomatic immunity granted Poppy the ability to target a selected enemy champion, dealing increased damage to them and becoming immune to any damage or ability that wasn't from that target. Like I've said, this would also include being immune to turret shots. Sometimes you'd use it on someone and dive them, but a lot of the time you'd use it on the support or a random champion and then hunt down the enemy carry, since that carry couldn't do anything to fight back. Considering how brutal Poppy was back then before the rework, if you saw that beautiful yellow prison cell and Poppy running at you, you might as well just leave the keyboard and watch the show. When you hear this sound, many thoughts come to your head. You're either scared and immediately run for a wall, or you're crazy like me and run towards him. His old original ultimate, Cannibalism, does not hold a candle to his current ult's level of spectacle, but it was just as destructive. For 20 seconds, Sion gained bonus lifesteal, 50% bonus attack speed, and his basic attacks healed surrounding allies for a percentage of the damage dealt. One of the reasons Riot decided to reboot Sion was how difficult it was to decide whether he needed an AD or an AP build. If you've decided to go along with a mage-centered build, his ultimate wasn't gonna do much for you. But if you went full AD, and if you got the chance to get your hands on an Infinity Edge, a Bloodthirster, and a Phantom Dancer, his E and ultimate combo was unstoppable. He could take you down in a matter of seconds, and if you thought you could run, well, you couldn't, because his Q was a long-range stun that had only 8 seconds of cooldown once it was maxed out. Even though Sion's rework makes the champion feel more grounded and easy to understand him as a character, his previous abilities meant that he could get into the enemy nexus spawn, and as long as he didn't stop doing damage, the spawned laser turret couldn't take him down. His ultimate emphasized how crazy his lifesteal, attack speed, and attack damage capabilities were. I can't get over how insanely cool Galio's hero entrance looks. It really makes you feel like a dormant stone colossus that has been waiting for the right opportunity to defend his teammates. Before his complete overhaul, Galio's ultimate was considered one of the most powerful abilities in the game. It was called Idol of Durand. Galio turned into a statue and taunted enemy champions in a radius, and once the channel was completed or interrupted, he bursted out of his statue form, dealing magic damage to nearby enemies. I totally remember this ultimate being a game changer, especially in the late game. Once you baited all the stuns and debuffs from the enemy team, the door was wide open to press R and let the magic happen. It truly made the difference about which team would stay on top. It could have been used to start a teamfight when surprising the enemy team by flashing in the middle of them, or use his Righteous Gust to get in more easily. It could also turn fights around when the enemy team dove in and you just pressed R to protect your carries at the back. One thing is for sure, Galio wants us to know that he's not a gargoyle anymore.
Gargoyle? No, I'm more of a magic nullifying colossus.
We all love to gather around our Mordekaiser's realm of death and root for our teammate to win the fight. Desperation starts to set in slowly as you realize you're a helpless teemo begging for your life and knowing none of your teammates can hear your screams. However, our favorite Warlord's ultimate was quite different before patch 9.12 in June 2019. Even though his character has had quite the improvements and changes, like most on this list, we will be focusing on his old OG ultimate ability, Children of the Grave. Mordekaiser cursed the targeted enemy champion, dealing magic damage and healing himself for the same amount over time, and if the team killed the cursed enemy, it meant that Mordekaiser temporarily enslaved their soul as a controllable ghost. The only catch being that it could only do basic attacks, but the strategy was mostly getting your Ignite on and saving the ultimate for tanks, DPSs and AD carries so you can have a more confident turret rush or a more advantageous teamfight. In Season 5, before the full champion rework, his ultimate could also be used on the dragon. It was incredibly intimidating seeing the enemy Mordekaiser being bodyguarded by it, and if you crossed them in the jungle, you were in big trouble. Using the ult on the dragon and having a mid or bot lane push was the easy strategy, and it could go anywhere on the map as long as the ultimate lasted. I can't think of a worse fate than being impaled with a drill and getting brutally executed by a sewer cyber-like version of the Monster Inc.'s main villain, but here we are. Urgot's fear beyond death might just do that to you. Our betrayed Noxian headsman's original ultimate was significantly different from what we know today. Hyperkinetic Position Reverser. Yeah, that's actually the name of the previous ultimate ability, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Urgot granted himself damage reduction for 5 seconds and channeled for 1 second, suppressing the target enemy champion, and upon completing that channel, Urgot and his target blinked to each other's locations. Well, in short, this meant that he could swap places with the selected enemy. This skill was the ultimate ganking tool. Junglers would camp the lane, wait for Urgot to swap the enemy into them, and there was nothing you could do about it. Either that or you'd see Urgot flash ult your carry late game and you'd lose the game. It was pretty one-dimensional, especially late game. When you look at the rest of his kit, it completely makes sense why they gave him a total rework. Well, that wraps up our little trip down memory lane. It was pretty nostalgic for me, and if it was for you too, make sure to let us know down in the comment section. Are there any other ultimates you can think of? Let us know that too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.